Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast.
On today's episode, we are discussing news.
Yep, we had a lot of news piling up at our news desk.
Yeah,
and
it was cluttered.
our fax machine was just out of paper because we were just constantly getting facsimiles sent to us, and so we had to stop the presses
To clear up some old stuff.
and we had to extra read all about it, and we did some news, almost all news. And then I finished out the episode with talking about Game of Thrones Episode 5, not the TV show, but the fantastic Telltale series that everyone knows that I love.
No,
And then I sprinkled in a little bit Batman Arkham Knight.
just sprinkled over the top.
Yeah, just a little palate cleanser to get rid of the bad taste of this podcast into the rest of your life.
Guys, remember to follow us on Twitter and YouTube now. By the time you hear this, there should be multiple videos. So,
But yeah, at Not Fun Podcast is our Twitter. Also, follow us, subscribe on iTunes.
bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, bloop. Yes. Oh boy. No.
My heavens.
My heavens. I'm just checking Twitter, see all of our @replies.
Okay.
0.
Yep. All right, guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Phil.
And today we got a little bit of news that has occurred over the last few weeks. Last episode, Jake was here. We got to talk about Pixels, some other stuff. So there's been some news accumulating.
That has happened since Pixels, which is hard to believe.
I know, it's hard to believe that something has happened after that.
That wasn't the end of the world.
Right. This is now week 2 post Pixels. I think PP is what they're calling it.
Each week gets harder.
Yep. But are you ready? I'm gonna news you. I'm gonna news you up.
Da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. News.
This is
when
not...
are we gonna get like T-shirts?
That's it. News me up.
Yeah.
I don't know. As soon as we get fans. This didn't happen the longest ago chronologically, but I know it's on the top of your list of things you want to talk about, which is WWE 2K16 has the Terminator in it.
Finally, yes.
I don't know about you, but every time I say WWE, I have to pause myself from saying WWF.
Yeah,
because growing up, it was WWF, and in my heart, it will always be.
And
WWF.
We're not really like wrestling fans,
no.
So it's not like where it's like constantly like beamed into our head. It's WWE. Like we only are paying attention when there's news.
Yeah.
Terminator. I watched the video. They released trailer.
They did a sort of shot-for-shot remake of the original Terminator, where Schwarzenegger walks into the bar naked and grabs the guy's clothes.
Yeah.
So, but they redid that, and the bar is filled with wrestlers, I guess.
There's no guessing. They're there.
Well, I'm not familiar with today's wrestlers. Is my
when I
point.
read the article, it just listed all the wrestlers.
Oh, when he looks at them, it says their name and like stuff about them, and then that's how I picked it up.
Yeah.
And I just go ahead. I mean,
all what I noticed from the video, besides the fact that Arnold is looking rough, a little
he's old. I mean,
he's up there. So good for him.
It was 31 years ago that movie came out. So,
but since he's supposedly supposed to be naked, and that means that he would have he'd either be smooth down there, like if they made robots in the future without dongs, then we're talking he's just got the Ken lower half.
I think they definitely made them with dongs.
But then
they're kind of visible in the first movie.
So all of the girl wrestlers, when they bump into them, their eyes go down.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a nice touch to make it seem like, and they're all relatively impressed, which I found. Not that I care about the sexist amount of like WWE stuff, but just like they're all just like, ooh, and they're a little like, this guy's not so bad. And it's like, there's a naked guy walks into your bar.
There's a naked 75-year-old man that just walked into your bar.
And you're just like, oh,
yeah.
I like what I see down there. That's all I want to talk about.
Okay.
They don't show you the character at all in the game.
No, that's what really disappointed me, was because it's like, is it just Arnold? Is it an exoskeleton? Like, what is it?
If it's an exoskeleton, it has to be Arnold. It has to be Arnold in like
and his face, because otherwise he wouldn't have been in.
Yeah, it has to be Arnold's face. It has to be like him and maybe like the leather jacket or whatever.
But
like,
do you think he's got
costumes.
like damage where it's like metal eye?
No, and the reason is just because I still feel like as stupid as the WWE is, sorry for any wrestling fans,
they
like,
can't have like crazy things in there.
Yeah, they're not going to have like all of a sudden where you're wrestling a robot. Like they'd still just be like you're wrestling Arnold's, but it's called whatever
he's
the T1000 or whatever
T100,
it is.
T800,
T815.
He might be the 850 model. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's just like so. Like I can't imagine that the entrance will probably be like the Terminator music, and it might show like the little video screen of some skeleton looking stuff. But I think like the character that walks out will still just be like human build. Just because they wouldn't want like Triple H versus a robot. Like okay.
Well, I mean that raises the obvious question: why?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's trying to promote both the Terminator and this game, but I think this game is probably getting more press out of it than the movie did. So it's not like, oh, wrestling fans didn't know about the Terminator movie that's out right now.
No.
But it also just makes really disappointed because they made this deal means they're probably not going to be in Mortal Kombat, which is what I wanted. I know it was already a long shot.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still could, I guess, do just the metal skeleton version of it.
Yeah, maybe it's they're going to go across a million games.
He makes a lot more sense in Mortal Kombat universe than he does in the wrestling universe.
Yes. Also, wrestling news, I don't know if you got it written down. Hulk Hogan scrubbed out of the new game. Long story short, Hulk Hogan said some things on a sex tape
years ago
that obviously aren't WWE friendly.
Yeah. Or just kid friendly
in the world.
Yeah. Animal friendly probably.
So what they did is they have essentially pretended like he never exists in the WWE. They've removed everything from online about Hogan. You can't buy his merchandise. And in the new game, like he will not be a character. They even removed his DLC from the current game that's out there.
I mean, that seems like drastic steps for
it is,
especially for wrestling, which I can think of a couple things that might be considered either sexist or racist or any of that stuff that's been prominent in their history.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's that like jumping the gun on something so bad. Like obviously like
and just like completely cutting ties and like no tolerance for the guy that really made them still exist today. Like he, wrestling would not still be around.
Well, you think like it to me. It makes me think of like the Confederate flag issue where Apple just took down every game that had a Confederate flag.
Yeah,
and they're just like, nope, we're just scrubbing everything clean.
Yeah,
just like. Okay, there's some context here. Like, if a game it's about the Civil War should maybe have it.
But it's like, okay, how come you haven't cared about it until this moment, and now you care so much that it's banned from everything? Like,
because it's getting press.
Like, no, I know, I understand it, but I'm saying, like, from the other perspective, from the person that might be considered affected by this, it's like, I didn't know, like, you're punishing me for rules that I didn't know existed because you didn't make them up until today.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
exactly what
like
it is.
I don't agree with any things that Hogan said. I don't even know what they were. Obviously, don't like the Confederate flag. But I'm just saying to all of a sudden make up a rule and then retroactively enforce it before people haven't to even do something quote unquote the right way. Like you said, if it was a Civil War like mini game, like if you had like a war game and all of a sudden now it can't be bought on the Apple Store.
Yeah, I mean Apple eventually reversed their decision,
right?
And blah blah. And I imagine that like. This year Hogan might appear, but when WWE 17 comes out, like I'm sure he'll be back. It'll just be like once this blows over and people don't care anymore.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things where just like you might be going a little extreme. I can understand maybe he's not the cover athlete, maybe
right.
You don't put Hogan
like hey,
on the
we're
cover.
not going to give him money to show up to events anymore or do publicity for us or something like that.
But like. Yeah, whatever. Spending too much time on WWE news.
Yeah. Also,
new segment on the show,
right? WWE.
We talk about WWE, but not the actual like matches or what's happening.
Roddy Piper died. Also,
he did.
Yeah,
he did.
Didn't know if we were going to get into the whole WWE corner.
we should talk about it.
He passed away, and he was part of the first WrestleMania with Hulk Hogan, or I guess it would just be a blank space now. I guess when we have to talk about it.
So what they said is that they can't scrub the matches, so you can still like watch WrestleMania 1 and
so
still
like
gonna be
my
Hogan.
VHS of WrestleMania 1 hasn't been deleted somehow.
Hasn't been deleted.
Okay,
but like if you go to WWE and you search like Hulk Hogan, it's not going to show up like
it just says
his
like
profile
404
bio. Yeah,
error.
it's error 404 not found.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but this week IGN decided to do a spotlight on the first Mega Man game and explain why it's good. I mean,
really?
every week we do something. The next week they come out with a podcast or a piece on what we talked about or doing.
All of our listeners aren't people who actually listen to it and like give us critiques. They're other companies listening to us.
Yeah, it's other companies. It's 5 guys that work for all the major corporations that are just stealing our ideas because they know no fans are listening to this. There's no audience to it.
Yeah.
So this is where they're mining all their ideas.
Mega Man's huge right now.
Yeah.
Let's get in on it. Continue the story.
I don't know. No, that was it. Just IGN. I've always suspected them of stealing our ideas.
Yeah.
But I haven't really pointed it out
because
they were obviously bigger than us.
Yeah. We will sue the pants.
But Mega Man, like that's so far out of left field. You can't pretend like you didn't steal that from Phil's YouTube video.
All 4 views.
Yep. We're IGN members.
Yep. In case anyone wants to know, the first I sent out a tweet.
Yeah.
But, video I promised last time with the Jake episode is up. First video on YouTube
of Mega Man. Yep.
Yeah. We
hour
played
and 10 minutes or so.
About an hour and 10 minutes. We played Mega Man. Just a little insider info. They're only supposed to be an hour long. That was 3 hours that I trimmed into an hour.
Yeah. So you're getting just the hits.
You're getting just the hits.
Yeah.
The fact that it took us 3 hours to not even beat the first Mega Man was a surprise to both of us.
Yeah.
We're like, how long can these games be?
So I have just a bunch of news scribbled down in no particular order.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked about this. This happened a while ago, but we haven't talked about it. Just that Nintendo president Satoru Iwatawa died at 55. This happened maybe a month ago at this point.
Yep.
He died at 55 of stomach cancer. He didn't show up to E3. Everyone knew he kind of wasn't doing well. But there's a lot of nice, in memoriam to him out there on the internet. A lot of people did some cool things.
Yep.
Being fans of Nintendo and the things he did. He'd been the president for decades now. And I guess he sort of championed Smash Brothers and Kirby were kind of his like pet projects while he was kind of hands on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did a lot of good things for Nintendo.
Yeah, it's sad because obviously he's, most people you're expecting like game designers and stuff like that to die much older, have retired from the business and passed on their legacy, but to be at 55 and pass away as the president, it's obviously depressing and all that stuff. And he did a lot for Nintendo that you don't realize. Like there's stories of he like pretty much single-handedly like programmed, games and helped like push Pokemon through the door and stuff like that. So you're just like, wow, like he's had his hand on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, like, I think a decade or two ago he made a huge difference in what Nintendo meant to everyone in the world. More recently, there's been some conflicting opinions about his decisions, like with the Wii U and other things like that. But I still think he has a really strong legacy.
Oh yeah, because I think for the Wii U stunk, but like the Wii and like the 3DS, were under him, and they became like 3DS was pretty much the primary handheld for games, and the Wii was obviously like. That was motion controls. That made PlayStation do the Move. That made Xbox do the Kinect. Like those kind of like pushed the whole systems in certain directions. What I thought was GameSpot, I believe, actually said this. So I'm stealing from them. But what I thought was kind of, they bring up a good point. Is like we're getting to that age now where like all of these great idea makers are starting to get up there in age, and Iwata was only 55, but you think like the guys who made Mario and Zelda and stuff like that, they're not getting any younger, and like we're gonna start seeing like sad headlines of,
it's weird because we haven't really experienced this because video games are so new that like you don't really think about the creative teams behind this or the people that made it because none of them have really died off yet. None of the major players that you've heard about, so you honestly don't even think about it. You don't really connect it to legends of film or sports or anything dying like that. But yeah, it's starting to happen, and it's gonna be rough. I think.
Because you're gonna be like, oh man, Sid Meier of every Sid Meier game, and oh man, Miyazaki, and you're gonna just be like, oh shit, okay, like that was my childhood, and all of these great guys, and then obviously you have a new string, but they're almost not as well known. Like besides,
and also it's like it used to be like 1 to 3 guys in a garage that made a game from start to finish.
Yeah, and
now it's the companies of 400 or 500 that pass it off between different countries to do different elements.
Yeah, so it's not like you don't have that like person like, I really loved everything this guy did. Now it's just like, oh yeah, that company, Oakland Atlanta Co. is great. Like I love what they make. It's like, I couldn't tell you a single person that works there because it's a made up company. At
guys,
least
stop googling it, guys. It doesn't exist.
It's not a game company. At least Oakland Atlanta might actually have a company.
The first time we get sued for mentioning something on the podcast is because they are a company. We pretended they weren't.
Yeah, like rain slickers.
But transition.
Nice.
So Nintendo filed a patent for a quality of life, quote unquote, machine. It's a sort of a sleep monitor device.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's basically other things like this already exist, but it's like an alarm clock, which also has something where you can plug your phone into the top, and then it has a little mini projector on it, so it can project things on the ceiling. And supposedly, it's part of they started this whole health initiative recently, and so this is just I don't know how exactly it monitors your sleep, but it's got like an alarm clock, plus it's I don't know if it projects stars or morning or whatever. Yeah, right. But yeah, so this is one of their other new devices. The only thing we've really heard from them recently is about this sort of there's the mobile stuff. There's maybe the wearable stuff, which also has to do with their health initiative, and now this sort of alarm clock projector thing.
And then off in the distance,
which they are trying to sell it as this huge innovation. But once again, if you look other places, it already seems to exist pretty prominently.
Yeah.
So
maybe they're doing something unique with it.
I don't know. It just seems like Nintendo is just so closed to other things that are happening in the world. They're just so far behind and stuff. We've had this conversation before about how the people that they brought in to help them do the online stuff, and they had no frame of reference for what Xbox or PlayStation was doing. They didn't understand any of that stuff because they literally just didn't have any exposure to it.
Yeah.
So I think this is another thing where they locked a guy in a lab for 20 years and he came up with this device that's already been around for a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for me, whatever the device is, unless I can play Mario on the ceiling while I sleep. If it affects my dreams.
But that's the thing; it's going to make you not sleep, which would be bad.
Well, maybe it pumps air out and it makes you dream about you being
pumps
Mario.
Air out? That would be terrifying. If it released a gas into the room while you're trying to sleep.
But you can program your dreams. What if
these are all much better ideas than they had. They're probably going to steal it. I mean, IGN already has. Now we've called them out.
Yeah, maybe they'll hold off on that one because they know we're expecting it.
But transition.
You can say that for every news
article. Yeah, well, Universal Orlando is supposedly coming up with a video game theme park based on the games of Nintendo and Blizzard. So
Blizzard. I toss that in there
because they make so much money with Warcraft.
I mean, I get it, but it's just Nintendo. Sure, that's a name that everyone knows. You go to Nintendo Land,
and it's
kid
friendly, and it's existed forever, so both adults and kids are gonna know it.
But I would prefer just Nintendo. You're gonna just Warcraft. You just walk around and swing a hammer. What the hell are you gonna do with that?
Well, see, I don't know exactly what the plans are.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're replacing existing stuff or they're adding new stuff. I know that for a while now they've had a problem with their second park at Orlando, Islands of Adventure, because they've lost all the Marvel rights to Disney, who bought them. So they've been trying to find ways to transition out of that, and I think they're going to replace the superheroes they have now with Nintendo stuff, and they're going to transform what used to be the old world. Like, they transformed one of the islands already into now Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're doing. There was like this other one that's kind of like medieval / like whatever that I think they're going to turn into Blizzard stuff like Warcraft and like
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, the Universal Park, I was there relatively recently. Yeah, they could remove like that whole goddamn park at that point. Like,
well, yeah, but
well,
what I'm
'cause you
saying
think
is,
about, like-
they're replacing what they already have with new stuff. They're just rebranding with licensed items.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you could get rid of Marvel because obviously the licensing issue.
Yeah, and I think whatever the cartoon like
Cat in the
Toonland
Hat.
now.
There's Cat in the Hat.
Well, that's
world.
something. There's Seuss Landing, which is on the other side, but like
Yeah.
in between what used to be Marvel Island and what is now Harry Potter.
There's the Jurassic Park thing, and then there's the
that's
pyramid
another island
thing.
too. But no, there was like a tune. There wasn't really. There was
Oh,
only,
yeah,
there was
yeah,
like,
it's-
there was
it's
like
the news-
Blutos.
it's
yeah,
the news
it's like old
cartoons.
comics, you know.
Yeah.
Those sort of stuff.
yeah.
I think they could replace that with Mario stuff too, because that was outdated when it came out, like when it was first released.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would see. I guess my thing with amusement parks is like it's fine to rebrand sections. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I also want rides that are now going to reflect that rebranding. Like, if you just tell me,
I
like,
want something from the ground up that has cool technology.
if you're just going to rename the Hulk ride like the Donkey Kong Smash,
Yeah.
and it's just like
now they painted it brown.
now they painted it brown,
Yeah.
and like as opposed to like the video of Hulk powering up before you hit liftoff, it's like Donkey Kong like swinging his arm to hit the quote unquote roller coaster. It's just
Yeah.
like, that's not enough for me.
No.
Like, just tear it down. And I know it's expensive and it would cost money, but like I also don't want, like, don't give me the Spider-Man ride where you're just watching a green screen and get sprayed with mist every once in a while, and now tell me like that's
It's Transformers now. They took the exact same thing and they put Transformers over it. They didn't change the ride at all.
yeah, just like
All they did was
fucking
change what was on the screen.
give me some do some work. Like,
Yeah.
Harry Potter World is so great because it was a ground up build.
Right.
Make it look exactly
Some
like
of
the
the
Harry
stuff,
Potter
but
World.
yeah.
Yeah, most of it. But
Yeah.
then just like, and then give me like the broomstick ride. Granted, you're just looking at a screen, but like it feels new and fresh.
Yeah, like they're trying to use the newer technology that exists and try to implement it into the rides. Yeah.
So it's
I
just
agree
like
with that.
do that too. Like it shouldn't.
They
shouldn't
won't,
be that
though.
hard. Yeah.
Because the money that it cost for both research and development and the actual building of this new stuff,
It's more than they expect
It's-
that they'll make.
they're not going to make it back because honestly, like now, they could charge the same thing they are for these old rides. And
Yeah,
it's
no,
all
it's
profit then at this point.
Money
So,
at this point, it makes sense to never do it. But
Yeah.
like as a person who would want to go to that park, it's just like, besides taking my picture with a guy in a Mario costume, like I don't know if there's
Yeah.
much for me to do.
Not a transition.
Thank you.
So, a new feature that had been rumored and sort of leaked and now is, I guess, officially announced. You can now vote for which game is going to be on PlayStation Plus the next month. So, both PlayStation Plus and Xbox, every month you get a couple free games. And so now I guess they've decided, I don't know if it's started, I think it doesn't start for a couple months because
Yeah,
it was just leaked.
yeah.
But basically you have a choice of 3 games that you spend the whole entire month, people vote on. You get to see what's first, second, or third, and then whatever game is chosen, that's what's next in line. So I think it's smart on their part, on Sony's part, because it's kind of like giving the gamers power, even though it's not, because they're still choosing from one of the games you're going to release anyways. But they feel like they have a voice, and they feel like you're giving them what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean it's smart exactly in that regard where it's just like, yeah, you're still picking 3 games. So those 3 games might all be garbage games or whatever
Right.
it's going to be, or there might be 3 great games. But at the same time, it's just like, hey, we've already acquired the rights that we can release these as free games from the developer and from the company. So at some point, these games would make an appearance.
Yeah.
But now we're just telling you, like, do you want to play Assassin's Creed this month, or do you want to play, Banjo-Tooie or whatever other PlayStation games there are? I don't know. It's a step, I think, in the right direction to kind of compete with, like, I mean, Xbox Gold, you get like 4 games at this point.
Yeah.
So, but 4 games that you can't pick. So maybe.
Yeah, but I think, people are going to argue this all day long, but
Yeah.
I feel like the Microsoft games are always like a AAA title, a big, huge release, and then usually an arcade game or something else.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like looking at the PlayStation games, even the stuff that they're voting on was like a Steam game that hadn't come out yet on PlayStation, an arcade game, like quote unquote, arcade game that came out 10 years ago on PlayStation, and another small, like none of them were big, fun blockbuster games that you would want anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I think that that's the issue.
like,
Is,
you're not going to get The Last of Us, but like Microsoft they've given away Halo, they've given away Gears of War, they've given away big first party titles.
Yeah, but they did those after they've
right. No,
been
I
on
know.
the market
I'm not.
forever.
Yeah.
Like it
But I'm
wasn't
just
like you
saying,
didn't get Halo 4, you got Halo 3.
But
7 years after.
where's like I don't know, the Gods of War, or their stuff, even like the Uncharted. There hasn't been any Uncharted games.
No, because they're doing the smart thing where they're like, hey,
trying to still get money out of it.
Well, no, because they have all these remasters in the edition.
That's
Just
true.
like it's just like, hey, we know that we have Uncharted 4 coming out, and we're doing an Uncharted Nathan Drake box set or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's like we know that those 3 games are coming out, and God of War just came out with a remaster of 1 and 2 or something like that. So they're just like, we want you to go towards these remasters.
Right.
I imagine, maybe one of these games appears, on the voting list at some point, whatever, it's Uncharted 1 or Gears of War 1 or something like, not Gears of War, but God of War 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree that I think Microsoft caught a lot of flack because they'd give old games, and people were, of course, upset about that.
Yeah.
Because people are always upset about free things.
Yeah, of course.
They're just like,
even though you're giving us 4 free games, we want better free games.
Yeah, we want better 4 games. We want games that haven't been released yet.
Right.
We want you to just give us...
Which is what they started doing. You get on Xbox One, you get games for free the first month they come out. Like all these like arcade games, quote unquote arcade games, you're getting them for free before you can even pay for them. So
yeah, but they're not good enough. I want Halo 5 free 2 days before launch.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so people complain that it took forever, and then so PlayStation is like, okay, well, we'll have newer games, but they won't necessarily be the big blockbusters. And then so everyone complains about that, like, well, we want big blockbusters.
You can't win with the internet.
Well, fuck you. Like, you're getting games. You're getting free games. Yeah. We're not just going to get... Here's a new PlayStation 4, too.
Right?
Everything's
we want
paid
PlayStation
for.
5.
Yeah, I want PlayStation 5.
We want it to never go down. So, supposedly, Kojima and Del Toro are working on a new project. They've now... I know it had sort of been... Like, when Konami said that the Silent Hills was dead, they said, they hope to work with them in the future, and it just kind of seemed like PR BS. But now, like, the two of them have both said, they're working on something. It's just in the development stage, which means it's probably never going to happen.
Yep.
But that was just confirmation of a rumor that we had sort of talked about previously.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that nothing will come of it. Like, no one get your hopes up.
No.
Guillermo del Toro has now been tied to like 4 or 5 games, and none of them have been released. Unless you want to count like Hellboy 2, Paths of Liberty, or whatever movie tie-in game that he probably had no actual say in making it. And Kojima just pretty much left Konami after the Metal Gear thing. So it's like, if anything, their quote-unquote in development is probably them literally just talking about a game. There's probably not a single person who has crafted a single image for the game.
No.
So even if this one...
It's just like the two of them discussing something. There's no...
Yeah, it's probably email strings.
Yeah.
That's probably all it is. But just like, if anyone heard this and just like, yes, that's going to be the new PT or whatever it is, like 6 years, 7 years down the road, if it gets made, that's when you'll see it.
Right.
Shenmue 3 will come out before this combo.
This is the thing I have written down. I had more about it, but I kind of forgot now since it happened so long ago. But like, what was it, QuakeCon or whatever happened a little bit ago.
Yep.
A lot of people have been talking about the Doom multiplayer aspect because that was playable there, and we hadn't seen that before, any gameplay of it. I guess everyone's saying it's a lot of fun. It's a good mix between the old school and like new school stuff. One of the things you can have, I guess, is teleportation grenades, which you can use for movement. but you can also, if you throw it directly at someone's feet, you can teleport into their body and make them explode from the inside out. And I thought that was kind of cool. Okay. Just wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to still using that. I have that beta code that I got when I got the first Wolfenstein that came out over a year ago. So supposedly that beta is still going to happen at some point.
Yep, at some point.
Some point. Hopefully before the game comes out, not after.
It'd be funny if it was after.
Yeah.
You could.
And it had less features and
Like, why not? Why wouldn't I just buy the game?
Yeah, just other little bit news. I guess this is from a while ago, but Rock Band 4 announced more songs. They seem like a better group of songs than some of the ones they had announced in the past. But what I thought was interesting is if you pre-order it, you get 30 songs.
Okay.
And there's a list out there that I haven't seen yet, but supposedly they're decent songs. So it's not all just like harmonics bands songs. So 30 songs, that's like an entire Guitar Hero game's worth of songs. So, we've been sort of talking about pre-orders and all this other stuff for a while now. I feel like that is something that's worth getting. I know they're, because we talked about before that Mad Catz is so desperate and so reliant on this to make money. I think that's why they're doing it, but I really think that would get me to pre-order a game, to give me, the game probably has, 60 to 100 songs.
Yep.
But 30 extra songs just to pre-order it, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe I'd do that then. That's worth it. That's, $60 of DLC for free.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to
look at the list.
I'd have to look at the list, and then I'd have to wonder, are the songs also going to be available day one, like individual songs?
To purchase?
To purchase. Because, let's say, hypothetically, they're not available.
Yeah.
Then it's just like, oh, okay, cool, they got, 2 Foo Fighters, and, 5 or 6 out of the 30 songs that I'm super interested in. Then it might be worth it, because that's just, pre-order, you're not really spending any extra money, and you get it. And so maybe you get some harmonics bands in there, and maybe you get some songs that you really hate, but it's just I'm still getting some good ones.
Yeah.
Or if it's just hey, all these 30 songs are also available individually day one, I might just go well, I don't want 15 of these.
You can always delete songs. If you don't like the songs, you can delete them.
Well, sometimes they come in a pack, and then you delete the pack. Because I know, for instance, and this is only my frame of reference, but Rock Band 3, you buy the albums, it's an album pack. You can't then go into, because you didn't individually purchase them, you can only download, at least the Pixies album or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't just then, I can't just delete, I don't like this song and this song. It's because it downloaded under one pack. Even though the songs are available individually.
Only when the packs are from a single artist, if it's an album. But there had been pre-order bonuses in the past, or free songs for whatever reason. And even though there were multiple songs, because they're all from different artists, they downloaded as separate songs. So I deleted, I think, the Rock Band 3 songs. There was 5 free songs, and 2 of them I just hated, so I deleted them.
Okay.
So
maybe
if you got to go into your hard drive, into your memory, and then you go and find it. You can't do it from the actual Rock Band game. You have to go into your system.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So that's that off the list. Also, Dead Island 2. Jaeger, who was developing the game, and Deep Silver, who was publishing the game, sort of split.
Yep.
Deep Silver pulled the plug on them, said, Jaeger, you're not doing a good job. So it's now currently not in development by any studio right now. They still have intentions of making it, but they said they did not like what Jaeger was producing. It was not up to their seemingly high status.
Yeah, okay.
I think what really happened was Dying Light came out first. Dying Light was, people really liked it, and it was different. And I think they weren't doing something that was different enough.
No.
That's just my speculation.
I agree. I imagine that they probably were doing almost a Dead Island Riptide clone with maybe some updated graphics, but it's probably very, stiff and clunky. And the way they tried to make it different was they tried to inject, humor and stuff into it, but I guess that wasn't working. Yeah.
Which was my speculation when we first heard about it. And I don't know, just the idea of, those weird, Eastern Europeans version of humor turned out to be racist in Dead Island 1, so
yeah, I mean, what, not all is it I'm trying to think, there's the football guy who's the Aussie, and of course he's also a prisoner or something like that, and
their idea of jokes was just stereotypes.
Yeah.
But they said it's, like I said, at some point it's still going to come out. They're going to find somebody else to make it. But that game that I was already not really interested in, I don't even. It'll eventually come out and it'll be awful. If it comes out, it'll be awful.
Yeah.
I only think it's going to come out because it has to come out and because it's one of their quote unquote franchises, so they can't let it die. But it's essentially dead.
Yeah, it's essentially dead for the time being, and
well,
probably,
it's definitely like in stalemate right now.
Yeah, because probably they're gonna fight over which company now gets
rights
the assets and all that stuff. Like, okay, well, this is Dead Island we own this name, so it should be under us. But then Jaeger's just like, well, we were the ones that fucking made all these zombies, so they belong to us. It's gonna be just this, mess.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, I wasn't excited for it. I didn't care about it. This could release tomorrow, or it could release in 10 years, and it's not gonna, unless all of a sudden, like, a company gets it that's really does something incredibly unique with it. But that's a wait to be determined.
Also, some interesting news. So the Minecraft movie, they got a new director for it because the other director, Sean Levy, backed out.
Yep.
So Mac from It's Always Sunny is directing the movie. I believe his name is like Rob McElhenney. I don't know. I see it written all the time. I never have to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Just call him Rob.
Robbie M.
But I feel like this is a very weird choice because, one, he's never directed anything.
Yeah.
He directed like 2 episodes of It's Always Sunny. Doesn't really count because it was a show he created and it was like the first season,
Yeah.
And to direct a huge, big budget movie like this is a very bizarre choice. From my perspective, I think it's only going to make it better. I still don't plan on seeing it, but I feel like it'll be a little bit more of a adult-friendly sort of movie. You know what I mean? Like there'll be jokes in there. Like I feel like it's going to get closer to the Lego Movie than just a straight-up kids movie. Like obviously, Charlie Day is going to have a voice in it.
I would hope so.
Which is going to make it better.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be fun and silly. And he definitely has a sort of silly, slapsticky style that is, I think, will work kid-friendly.
I hope that it just turns into a really big Sunny episode.
That would be fantastic.
Like Danny DeVito's in it.
Yeah.
Charlie Day.
Yeah.
His wife, Caitlin Olsen. Just they're just wearing blocks on their heads. And it still takes place in the bar.
Yeah.
And just like, yep, this is it. We just renamed it. Instead of Patty's Pub, it just has like Minecraft Pub or something like that.
I just worry that this is going to hurt It's Always Sunny because there's only so much time they have.
Yeah. I imagine they'll take a hit or they'll go on a long hiatus.
Well, because I know Charlie Day, does other projects in his movies and stuff, but it's one thing to be an actor in a movie. It's another thing to be the director and helm a giant blockbuster franchise like this.
Yeah.
So
they might just have a bad season of Sunny.
Yeah, or it might take a year to come out.
It'll be a 2-episode season.
Yeah. Also, so the Xbox One now has keyboard and mouse support.
Finally. Now I'll jump on board.
Is that what's going to make you jump on board? Yeah. Well, that and Windows 10.
Can you get the controller that has the little text box on it?
Well, you just have to get the text box and you put it on yourself. But I think it's interesting because with Windows 10 coming out and you can stream all your Xbox games, you can actually just stream everything on the console. You basically have remote access to it.
Yeah.
So you can use your apps, you can use your messaging, you can do exactly what you would do on your console, but from your computer. But to take it the other way too, in theory, they're saying that you're gonna be able to support PC games now on your Xbox. So with the sort of division of those two systems kind of dissolving, are you more likely to get
no like this?
But because right now you have kind of both two things separate, and now you can then have access to. It's basically like a Steam box.
Yeah, but
Xbox
then why would I get
Steam
another
box.
Steam box if I have a Steam box?
Because I can
play Halo 5?
No, but I'm saying you have at some point it'll make sense for you to get the Xbox One because you'll have all these Steam games now that you'll have access to right off the bat.
But it's not
plus all the backwards compatibility of the 360 games. Plus, if you were smart and got the free games with gold every month because you could do that.
I haven't been.
Yeah, so
because I know I'm not going to get one.
You know you're gonna get one at some point.
No, I'm saying like because here's the thing, like
We're so close to hitting 200 followers on Twitter.
yeah,
and you're
we're
gonna
at like
forced.
16, and I'll get by that time I'll get the Nintendo NXE.
Yeah.
If I get my thing is like the more that this console just becomes a PC, which it's it's like okay now you can play console games and now you can stream games from your computer.
Yeah.
It's just like well then I'll just keep my computer and still play those same games and I'll miss out on like 8 games. I will miss out on Microsoft exclusive console games. I will miss out on Halo because I can't play that on my PC.
Right.
And for a year I'll miss out on Tomb Raider. But it's just like I don't need if I get an Xbox One that can now play PC games, be like, great, I have a PC that can always play PC games.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, you'll have just access to so many more games, and like your reason for getting the Steam box over like a new console was like because there was PC games out there that you didn't have access to any other way.
Yeah.
But let's say it's 5 or 10 years down the line, your Steam box it doesn't have the specs to run some of the newer stuff.
Yeah, well then when it's
and then you have this huge catalog. Instead of buying a new gaming PC, you might buy the Xbox One.
Yes, that is a potential.
I'm just saying, like I think it adds positives to the Xbox.
It's not a negative,
right?
By any means, it's not a negative, especially if you don't have a gaming PC, and now all of a sudden the Xbox One opens up, like, hey, you might be able to play some of these PC games that have generally only been PC exclusive. For people who own the Xbox One, it's a huge positive. For people who are debating between maybe an Xbox or a PlayStation, this increase in game numbers might sway you now towards Xbox. For people who have a gaming PC who don't have a console, I don't think this does much because the exclusive games are really what would sway someone one way or the other.
Yeah, but it's really more than that. I don't know if it's exactly a selling point, but there is all the other like apps and all this other stuff. Like if you wanted to use it as your TV tuner, since there's now cable access directly to your Xbox and over the air antenna stuff, plus all the apps and all this other stuff. You're like, okay, I don't want to buy like an Apple TV. I'd rather buy like an Xbox and use that because then I can also, if I wanted to play my PC games on my giant screen computer, giant TV screen, I could do that. I think it's just cool to have more features. I'm not saying like, oh, this is a selling point, like just this one feature will get somebody over there.
No, I know.
But I feel like they've made some good progress in the last year with adding backwards compatibility, with having the seamless integration on the PC side with the Xbox, so it's nice for them to go the other direction too.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, it's a plus in terms of like what it actually does.
Yeah.
And just me personally, like it doesn't. It's not. It's
no,
still,
I know it's not tipping the scales for you.
It's not tipping the scales.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like for you especially, like
hey, if I wanted to pick up a PC game or something, I could probably just do that now. And if it didn't support a controller, I know I can just plug in now a USB
keyboard and mouse.
So and then set to go.
When we get to the point where we're just like, hey, we're playing this game, sorry, it's PC only.
Yeah.
As opposed to you having to come over and then like only get an hour or two with the game. It's just like I'll just get it on my Xbox One and then I'll play.
Yeah.
And it'll work and it'll be fine. I wonder though how. I wonder if the only like criteria is like if the game supports Windows 10. Like I wonder, like I just kind of wonder. Obviously, like I don't know like the nuances. But
I'm sure it has to be like you can't get like an Apple only game.
No, I know, but like for like Steam, they break it up into like operating systems.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, this is Windows available, this is Mac available, this is Linux, or this is all three, and then so that's it. But like I almost wonder now because.
I'm assuming Valve. It's got to be Windows compatible.
Well, yeah, it's got to be Windows. But I mean, like with Valve trying to compete with console,
are they going to try to block content?
Like, I wonder if like their Steam thing is going to be like, no, you can't use Steam on Xbox. So like, you can only buy these games if they're available in like the Windows Store. Like, I just wonder like when companies start to kind of screw the other one over.
The problem is though. Like Windows is such a huge platform on PCs that I don't think Steam is going to try. No, I know, but I don't even know if they have any sort of leverage to be like, hey, we're going to cut out part of your business.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because if selling games is just like added increase to the developers and people who are like, no, I
Yeah,
I want
we
people
want
to be
other-
able to buy
yeah.
this on an Xbox One. I just like that's the only thought that came into my head is just like, man, if Valve really wanted to make a play to be the better console, quote,
My guess
unquote.
is it's basically like an emulator. I think it's just going to be all tied into your PC essentially. So like I think you just buy it on the store like you normally would,
And then you just
Steam
stream
doesn't
it.
know that you're streaming it to your Xbox. I don't think they can tell.
Yeah.
So
And then it'd be fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, so Dishonored finally announced they got a definitive edition coming out for the new console, the new generation of stuff. What was interesting to me, though, since I haven't played the original and I have a digital copy because it was free 1 month, and I have a sealed package of the original game, they said they will give you $20. It's only $20 if you trade in your like previous gen version. So if I go and take my 360 version, they'll give me the new game for $20. So that's pretty good.
That'd probably be worth it.
Yeah.
Assuming they really up it and it's not just like a...
Well, if I
Quick
that's the
one.
thing, I've never played it. So rather than spending $60 or whatever it is on the new game, if I can just spend $20,
But what I'm saying is you might not... If they haven't really upped it at all,
it's still $20. You're saying?
then I'm saying like then you already have a copy that's essentially
Right,
quote
right,
unquote
I'm paying
free.
$20 for
You're
almost
paying
nothing. Yeah.
$20 for nothing because you're just like, well, I could just play it on my 360. I'm still
Yeah.
going to get achievements. It's still going to
Well, I
look
could
the
do.
same.
That's the thing. I could do both if I wanted to.
Yeah.
If I played it and I really liked it, because I don't need to give them a brand new version. I might as well open it up and play with it.
Yeah. No, here's a sealed copy. Can I get an extra $5?
But they kind of did it like when the consoles were first transitioning. EA did that with some of their stuff, like Battlefield 4.
I remember Battlefield.
Yeah,
because I think you played it and then immediately turned it
yeah,
in.
because I beat it pretty quickly, and then I turned it in, and I think it was like $5 or $10 for the new version, and then I just played it again.
Yeah.
Which was great. And
Double
now I have
achievements.
Yep. Not just that, but now I got to compare. Like I got to see the transition happen in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Some just other stuff just to clean up a little bit. So I guess we'll talk about it first. Mini Destiny Corner, just based on news. So they're rebalancing the weapons. There's going to be a new patch coming out that basically nerfs all the fun guns. That's what they always do. The best guns, they always tweak it. So they're trying to find a balance, but they're also trying to make it so there's not like one great gun. Like at first they gave a boost to like auto rifles, and then like pistols, and then like scout rifles, and then they just next up they rearrange everything again.
Yep.
Because they don't want everything to be level. They just want it to be sort of always fluctuating, so you're not using, your pistol as
They
your
don't
primary
want
weapon
huge
for
peaks
6
and
months.
huge valleys.
Right.
They don't want like a gun being so bad that no one uses it
Yeah.
ever in any situation, and they also don't want one gun that does it all.
And the problem is, though, that I think everyone's justifiably upset about is they're finally nerfing the Gallahorn, which is like the really hard exotic rocket to get, which is the most powerful gun in the game.
Yeah.
And they said that one of the reasons was they didn't want there to just be like one huge gun that does everything. Plus, they were saying that people were not allowed to participate in certain events. Like if you go on like the website I used and stuff like that, they would say like you got to have a Gallahorn. If you don't have a Gallahorn, you can't do this activity with us.
Yeah.
So they're saying they were trying to kind of get rid of that bad behavior.
It's not going to
But
affect
what they
it.
said, I know, what they said too was like, they showed graphs of how like everyone was using a Gallahorn in multiplayer, but the increase in those stats and stuff didn't really affect. If you get hit with any rocket in multiplayer, you're going to die in one hit. So it didn't really make sense. That's something that's bothered me this whole run now of Destiny is they keep making balancing adjustments just because of how a gun performs in PvP when it destroys then PvE, which is player versus everyone. So it's like it would not be that hard for them to have two different stats being like, hey, this takes X amount of damage against a Guardian, and this against everybody else it does this. Or even have two different perks. Like, they really should do this for Destiny 2. I know it's kind of too late to do that now, even though they're doing a lot of changes. But like, be like, hey, like I have two perks. I can use it for multiplayer or single player. I got to decide what I want. Like, hey, do I want one headshot kills on enemies, or do I want faster reloads? Something like that. I don't know. Just something that the gun itself is balanced, so you don't have to ruin a gun that's good for one thing and not for the other, because that's how it is. Now you have like 40 guns because only one gun works in one situation and doesn't work in any situation, all the other situations anymore.
Perfect.
But also, so they said that there's more weapons in the Taken King expansion than all of had been released in Destiny.
Okay,
so
they better be up in your locker, huh?
Right? I hope so. But also, I think that's one of the reasons they are nerfing all these other guns is so you'll have a reason to want these new guns. Because you basically already have like a great version of every single weapon type. So like, why would you need to go out and try to get the new rocket launcher when you already have a Gjallarhorn? Well, the Gjallarhorn sucks now, so now you have to go get a new rocket launcher.
Do you think that's... do you think that's just how it kind of shaked out, or do you think that was intentional, where they're like,
no,
hey,
because
we have
they're
new
not,
guns
they're not
coming out?
nerfing it until the day the Taken King comes out. That's when they're nerfing it.
So it is intentional.
So it's definitely...
so they're just like, we want people who maybe aren't going to upgrade to the Taken King to now feel like they have to upgrade to the Taken King, so they can get guns that they will then be able to compete with people who have done so. Genius. These guys, man, they are fucking... conniving.
Also, they're saying that like all the weapons sort of are tied into their manufacturer. Like in the past, there's been some random things like, oh, the Surus regime, which was like a company made this machine gun. It looked a certain way. Now they're saying, oh, now there's like they make a rocket launcher, so it looks the same. So they're kind of trying to make a fluid like sense of the world. Like I don't know. Also, another thing that I've been getting for a couple, maybe 2 months now, is I randomly get emails from them. Been like, hey, this is what you did in Destiny recently, and hey, you should come and play more. Like, why aren't you playing more? At first, it was kind of cool, although weird. It was like, hey, you got 43.1% of your kills this month with this one gun, or like, oh, these are the new things you unlocked, or these are the new events, blah blah blah. But now it was like, because I stopped playing like maybe a month or two, and it was like, hey, if you come back to the Postmaster, you'll get 9 strange coins.
Like, cool.
Okay. I just hate the whole like free to play mentality is kind of infecting every game right now, and like they're really trying to like run with that stuff. So
yeah.
And then I got another thing be like, hey, if you register your email with our newsletter, we'll give you other free gifts that don't really matter. But they're just trying to get people back in the game right now, I think.
Well, yeah, because there's the lull now, because they release, because it's still a while before Taken King comes out.
Right, everyone's done everything with the previous DLC, and I think they're just waiting on the new stuff. So because that reset always happens when DLC comes out, people don't want to play right now because they feel like all that stuff is just kind of wasted.
Yeah.
So
in Activision's world, they're just like, we don't want people to forget about this game.
No,
we don't want you to get caught up playing whatever fucking new big release is, because
which is
then
probably also Activision.
Maybe then which is also we don't want you to forget about Destiny, because if Taken King comes out and you've put down the game for 3 months, maybe you feel you don't need to keep playing it.
Right.
So it's like if you're still playing
if you're off this drug, if you get through it,
that's what it is.
Kick the habit.
Because how long before the last DLC and this DLC? When did the last one come out? Say a month ago.
It was more than that, but yeah, I think it was maybe first week. I'd say June 1st, probably.
Okay, so June, and then the next one comes out September. So
yeah.
June, July, August. So 3 months. Yeah, they're just like, man, I haven't played Destiny in 3 months. Maybe like I got Batman. That was pretty cool, and then. Oh man, the Gears of War is coming out. That's going to be pretty exciting. I don't really need Destiny. I don't need to spend $40 for the Taken King.
Especially because that's like right before the big holiday rush too. So you might be saving.
Yeah, and Taken King's not cheap, as we've established. So it's like maybe they're just like. But if you're still playing in August, if you're like, man, they keep bringing me back, then when Taken King comes out, it's much easier to jump, because like I'm still playing this.
Yeah. Also, a company announced an action figure for Destiny. It's like one of the Titans. It comes with, I think, 4 weapons. It looks really cool. It's got like 24 points of articulation.
And you can scan it to get a cool new gun.
But it's like $250.
Don't buy it.
Which is, I was not going to, but thanks for your input. Also, speaking of like huge things like that, Halo 5 announced recently their collector's edition. I think it's called.
It actually comes with the Master Chief?
It's called the limited collector's edition. Right? It's $250. it's been available for pre-order before they've announced anything that's in it. They finally announced what was in it, and you only get a digital copy of the game if you buy the $250 version. So, obviously, the day that was announced, the internet exploded, and we're very upset about that. So, in less than 24 hours...
They rebooted the internet.
No, they found a way to replace it. You can now get a physical copy of the disc if you want to, if you buy the limited collector's edition. So, I just thought that was... just kind of I feel like it's so weird that I'm saying bad things about Destiny. I'm saying bad things about Bungie and saying good things about like 343. But they really have been learning from mistakes. They keep making mistakes, but they learn from them very quickly.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, in less than 24
point, we
hours,
just like them to not make mistakes.
They created this like intricate system of how you can trade in your digital version for an actual physical copy if you want to. So they remedied that as fast as they could. They said they couldn't do it because of the boxing and because of like all the factoring, all this other BS probably. But now they're like, hey, if you want to,
what else comes in it? Do you know? It's like, because if I paid $250 and they're just like,
Dude,
hey, you get a digital and a physical, I'd just be like, fucking great. I can.
Well, I know it's like a giant statue.
Okay.
And it's like a tableau. It's like a whole scene. It's not just like a one guy. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Plus, you get like an art book, and you probably get special content and all the DLC for quote unquote free. That sort of stuff.
Okay.
So it's all the stuff they have in like the best limited editions. But
when you were telling the story, I just pictured a big box, and all it had was like a code on it.
Probably.
Like it's this huge empty box that they ship you, and it's literally just a piece of paper that has like the 15-digit code that you need.
Because you could pre-order day one, and all the picture was online was a giant black like crate that just said Halo 5 on it.
Yeah.
And you just open it up. There's smaller and smaller boxes until you just get to one little strip of paper that has a code on it.
Yeah.
Just like 7.
Yeah.
Okay, just put that in.
The code is 1 digit.
Yep.
They only made 9 of them.
The last thing I have on the list, though, is they leaked some Hitman footage just to the alpha.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw it or not.
No. I saw screenshots.
It's like 10 minutes long. It's just one level, one guy playing one level, and I guess he does it a couple different ways, which is what's interesting about it. Yeah, it looks good. It looks fun. It seems to be delivering on its promise of there's like a million different ways you can do this if you want to.
It's the escapists.
It's what the escapist promised but didn't deliver.
Yeah.
But it's even more complicated. That's the thing. If you can do it in a Hitman game,
you should be able to do it in an 8-bit escapist game.
Be able to do it in an escapist game.
Yeah. Probably rag on. It's probably like one guy made the escapists, and we're just like, why didn't you make more of it?
I mean, it's the company that made like the Worms franchise. I don't know if you've ever played any of those.
Yeah.
Like Battlefield or whatever they're called.
Worms Battlegrounds. Yeah.
So it's a company that exists and made other games.
Okay.
So
I didn't check those facts.
But yeah, the Hitman thing, I'm just really excited for it because it really just seemed like he was able to, while playing, because it was a tester that leaked it. It's not somebody that part of the game or anything, but it seemed like he was able to improvise, like come up with creative solutions, and if he sort of got caught, he kind of found ways around that. You know what I mean? Like he might have to take out a guard, he took a hostage without having to restart.
It needs for you to be able to think of ways and then execute them. I mean, nothing for those games. It's all about creativity, and that's why I hated like the early days where there was one real way to do it and the other way is guns blazing. And if you screwed up the real way, like the only other, you either had to restart the whole mission and try again,
or to
pull out. And the minute you pulled out the gun, everyone in the entire building was alerted.
On you. Yeah.
It wasn't, where you could just be like, oh, like one guy, I pulled out silenced pistols, shot him, and then like was able to recover quickly enough. It was just like, no.
You're done.
Yeah, your cover's blown.
Yeah, he somehow radios the entire country that you're there. But yeah, I mean that's the only news I have written down.
Summer Games Done Quick happened this past week. I think yesterday was the last day.
Sure.
It's basically a bunch of, for people who don't know, like this, the Awesome Games Done Quick is a bunch of speedrunners who get together for charity, run games that they're really good at, speed running, and then people donate. For this one, it was Doctors Without Borders was the charity. There were some really weird games that people run that is just like, I've never even heard of this game.
That's usually kind of where the the speedrunning community thrives is in those weird, unique games.
Yeah.
I feel like if somebody finds a game, they're like, there's no way that somebody else has a record on this, so I'm going to focus on everything on this.
But I did watch some of it. Some of it's super interesting. Some of it's just like, oh, you really found a crazy way to break the game.
Yeah.
Like, old school games are kind of funny because it's just like, I watched somebody do the first Zelda game, and you can beat all of the head bosses except for the last one without a sword.
Yeah.
So he didn't get a sword for the entire game. And so it's just like using like bombs and boomerangs and like learning how like where things respawn and just being like, oh, if I don't get hit for 10 guys, it's automatically a bomb drop.
Right.
So it's just like, I'll kill these guys and I'll go out of the way here to reset my counter and blah blah, and just like crazy stuff. And you're just like, wow, like I wouldn't think that you could play the game without a sword.
Yeah.
But then I watched, they did a 3-person race of Super Mario 64 for who could get 120 stars first.
Yeah.
And just like watching like 3 people, 3 screens side by side, and you're just like, holy cow. Like, cause they're just like nothing but like, long jump, and then like bounce off like 10 walls and then they get a star. And you're just like, okay, that usually would take me a little bit longer.
Right, yeah.
But okay. And then I watched a bunch of crappy ones because I had it on while I'd work, and it'd be like, we beat the Little Mermaid game in 10 minutes on the normal Nintendo. And
right.
Like,
it usually takes 12.
Yeah, it usually takes 12. The last one I'm kind of upset I missed, but at the same time, like, I don't need to see it anymore. It's a 100% run of Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
It's just like that.
Why watch it when you've lived it?
I've lived it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because they provide estimates and then they, how long it takes. And so some games would be like, hey, this takes me 20 minutes. This takes me 15. The Chrono Trigger one, I think, was like, hey, this takes like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Even like even speed running, like you're
because there's not really that many glitches or anything in those kind of games.
Yeah,
so,
it's just like, I can do this in 12 hours.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's still a pretty big time commitment.
Right, but if I make up one mistake, it's up to 16 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the thing, like the Mario one. It's like 120 stars. Granted, that took me weeks.
Oh yeah, in real life, for sure.
But and so they're like the estimate was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like to think.
Well, that's because they didn't play like any of the levels.
Yeah, they did.
They just glitched to all the stars right away.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was some that just like, if you use this bomb glitch, you can come here, and it's like, kudos.
Yeah.
And it like, I know we've talked about it enough, but like it always blows my mind like how people even figure out some of these stuff.
Yeah.
Like obviously like one person figures it out and then passes it to the community, and that's kind of what they're saying. It's like, I found this on accident because blah 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 blah. And some of them like make sense where you're just like, oh, I was at this screen and I got hit off of it. And then all of a sudden
I deducted that,
and then it glitches out where like it, because I didn't walk in that direction but I got hit off of it, that it transports me here. That's something I can believe that would happen as an accident. But then there's some where it's just like, oh, if I juggle this bomb and this shell in the air,
right,
then all of a sudden it transports me to Bowser or something like that. Like,
how
you weren't doing that ever to begin with.
Yeah.
So much from that, I don't donate because I'm poor and I'm a terrible person.
Right.
But they hit over 1 million while I was watching.
That's pretty cool.
Also, there's people like, it was what's, first of all, I talked to Caitlin about this, and just like the people who watched this, crazy people who have money to spend, because there was a donor bidding war. Like, there's no bids, you're not buying anything,
right? But
there was a donor war.
Each other.
First, while the Mario won, they're like, one guy donated $120 for one for every star that they're going to get. And then a guy goes, there's 3 people, I'm going to donate $360, one for every star that each one of them are going to get.
Yeah.
And then another person was just like, then they just like start going off, and like one guy was,
I'm going to get my firstborn.
One guy donated $500, and then he said, I will donate another $500 more if the people playing can convince my friend to get me a beer right now.
Wow.
And so then they'd be like, give him a beer, and then all of a sudden like another donation comes in and goes $500, they got me the beer. Like, you just donated $1,000.
Yeah.
In no time. Like, I can't.
I'm sure the guy that got on the beer was like, hey, where's my tip? Like, you just give them $1,000 to not do anything.
The highest one that I saw while I was watching is somebody donated $12,000.
Wow.
Just like, if I donated, if I was feeling generous, it would be $100. That would be like as most as I could do.
The people that are doing that are the ones that are trying to get the tax breaks, so they have to donate a certain amount of money.
$12,000.
So they're just they're like, here, give it to their assistant, and their assistant just puts it wherever they want. So.
Yeah, but just like, I don't know. To me, that's crazy sauce, because I will never be wealthy enough where like $12,000 is just something that I can just be like, here, take it.
I don't want it.
Yeah,
it's making my
you're doing
back
a great
hurt.
Mario run. Here's $12,000.
Oh, some other news I forgot to talk about. My back's kind of hurting this week. Carrying our team through the TA contest.
Oh, what are you talking about? I got some Star Wars ones.
Yeah,
right
the
at
last
end.
day you got just to save your own skin because you were under the cut.
Yeah,
but I kept
worked.
looking and I was like, oh man, we're like 200. Our team's like 200 below. I was like, okay, I'll get some more achievements. Then like I come back in like an hour. I'm like, oh, we're below the cut again. And then I ended up burning 2 of my rainy day games.
Your Quiplash.
My Quiplash and my Limbo. So
Don't tell you. You won out of the competition.
I'm hoping. I want out of the personal competition, not the team competition. I don't want to let the team down. But I was hoping this is just one of those other weird weeks that spiked in difficulty, that it's going to go back to only having to get like 200
Eventually,
points a week.
no. Eventually that runs
I
out.
know. I know. I'm hoping it's
We're
not
8
now,
months
though.
in now, though.
No, we're not.
Yeah, didn't it start on the 1st? And we're entering
No,
August?
it started like the end of January. We're at week 29 of 52.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought it started on the 1st. No,
Yeah.
just going 1st of August.
So if it's this hard for another week, I don't think we're gonna make it.
No,
Unless
we
if
have
Minor
a
Growth
bonus.
just steps it up again.
We have a bonus I was going to
Yeah.
use, but then when I logged in and saw that you did 700 in Quiplash, I was just like,
Yeah.
don't need it.
Yeah, I got over 2,000 TA points that week.
Yeah.
All in like the span of playing for like 30 minutes.
I debated with myself whether or not to even go for anything.
Uh-huh.
At the end, I was just like, I can lose, dust my hands, walk away. But then a voice of Jake Jarvie in my ears.
I know. If you wouldn't have given us that
quit.
pep talk so recently.
Yeah, then I was just like, fine, what do I got that's quick? Star Wars, done. I mean, I got some big ones brewing. The problem is I just don't want to have to do it.
Yeah.
I got Splinter Cell Double Agent for getting all golds.
Yeah.
But like that's still maybe like 2 weeks away. And then I got Turok Impossible's 500 points.
Yeah, but it's like just one achievement that takes a while to get to.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. But like those, like...
I think there's still some Grand Theft Auto achievements you haven't gotten.
There's one.
I know.
And that one takes even longer than those two combined.
Yeah, I got a quick question for you.
Is it Grand Theft Auto based?
I'm probably not going to listen to what you're saying, but what should my next game be that I play? Should I play Dying Light or should I play Tomb Raider reboot?
I would say Tomb Raider reboot.
Me too. That's what I want to play more. But
Yeah.
there's 17 multiplayer only achievements, all of which take, they say, 15 to 20 hours of boosting to get.
That makes sense to me.
So
Yeah.
throw that in the works. That's why I'm a little conflicted, because otherwise I would just play Tomb Raider. I would have already played Tomb Raider at this point.
I don't know. Like Dying Light just didn't do anything for
know,
me
me
when
either.
I played, and that's my issue. Is I know it's supposedly a good game, but it just didn't grab me. So I would be like, whatever game you said next to Dying Light probably would have been that. You could have been like, hey, should I start Dishonored? And I'd have been like, yeah, do Dishonored. Hey, should I
start Turok?
Should I finish Quiplash? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, do that. Hey, should I get the rest of the multiplayer achievements in Saints Row 1? Yeah, that sounds like fun.
There's no way that sounds like more fun. The thing that Dying Light has going for it right now is that it doesn't have multiplayer achievements, and overall the achievements are not hard, just some of them you have to grind for, which I'm fine with. So based solely on achievements, I would pick Dying Light. Based on what I actually want to play, I would pick Tomb Raider.
I can't.
So-
As somebody who does not play games
Yeah.
either for achievements or for fun, I shouldn't weigh in, but my vote
I was
would
kind of
be
thinking that while I was
Tomb
playing The
Raider.
Escapist. I was like, hey, if this is all Phil plays, no wonder he doesn't like video games. Because this is the game he was excited to play.
I was.
I know.
Now, I mean, at least I gave it a bad score.
Yeah, I know. No, I agree with you, though. It had a good premise. I was excited when I started it.
Yeah.
But I just been like, Phil's gaming history is just so sad at this point.
It is. I'm going to change that
Yeah.
once I beat Turok. In 10 years.
All right, I guess I'll talk about a couple games that I played recently. Sort of mentioned it on the Jake episode, but I played Game of Thrones Episode 5. Unlike the other Telltale and episodic games, it has 6 episodes, so this is the penultimate episode, not the actual last episode, called Nest of Vipers. So right off the bat, the first quote unquote choice they give you is whether or not you're going to take your sword to meet somebody. And I decided, yeah, I don't feel safe to where I'm going. I'm going to take my sword. Sure. And then I put, X or B. I put X, take sword. And the guy goes, no, you can't take your sword. You're going to have to leave that here. Then why did you give me the fucking fake choice? Like, you're not even trying anymore, game. You're not... Well, that wasn't a choice. Like, don't give me that on the stat screen at the end of the game, because that was not a choice.
You tried to take your sword, you idiot.
Yep. So the second choice it gave me was whether or not...
Were air quotes, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
that
you
quotes. Can't see.
Thank you, robot intern. The second choice I had was to attempt to kill a character, right? So I had a blade up to his throat, and it was whether or not to try to kill him or not. A character that I know does not die because he is in the TV show and other books. A guy that I know that if I try to kill him, he will kill me. So of course, that once again, to me, that was not really a choice. And after looking it up afterwards, of course you can't kill a guy. If you try to kill him, then he gets mad at you and hurts you. So not a choice. Thanks for another not choice, guys.
Okay.
Oh, so there were a couple positives, though, of this episode. So the first 3 episodes of this series were just, poopy garbage.
Hot, poopy garbage.
Hot, poopy, steamy, smelly, curry garbage.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And the 4th episode was okay. It did some good things, but I had sort of been soured on the series. Yeah. But let's say I was starting in episode 4. It's on the upswing. So this episode 5, they did a couple things that were okay. One of which was they took a page from Oregon Trail, and were
finally.
So your characters can die of dysentery. No, I'm kidding. You can go hunting. Because that was fun in Oregon Trail, right? Because that was like the one gameplay mechanic there was in that, is you just go hunting.
Yeah.
And as a kid, that's all I wanted to do. But so you have a bow, and you use the right trigger to sort of pull it back and have strength of the bow, then you let it go. So I was able to kill like rabbits and things like that.
You know what game also has a bow? Turok.
Okay, Turok. Yep, I thought you were going to say Tomb Raider.
Nope.
Yeah, I wish I was in the Space Marine boots of John Turok, the Native American Indian space explorer.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, it's like normally I would not talk about this little mini hunting game, but because there's nothing really positive to talk about in general, that's what I was going to say. So another thing that I thought was interesting at first was one of your other characters is in a fighting pit. You have to fight to the death with another character. And then you're given the choice of 3 different weapons to use. So you go, this one, this one, and this one. I'm like, okay, that's fun. They finally scripted in, more than one thing, and you only get to see one of them based on what you choose. Of course not. First weapon I pick up gets kicked out of my hand. I gotta go grab the other one, then it breaks, then I have to get the other one. So you're not even choosing the weapons because you're required to use all 3. It's just whatever quick time animation they gave you before you had to get the next one. So they did they only programmed the very minimum.
Is this even a game?
Not really. I mean, it's like a psychological experiment on me, I think.
I feel like what you obviously I will have no desire, especially after these great reviews of the Game of Thrones series, is just like it seems like they have gotten away from the part that is a game.
Oh yeah, no, it hasn't really been a game to begin with.
I mean, people critiqued Walking Dead when it got like Game of the Year, and they're just like, oh, this isn't really a game, it's just like a dialogue simulator. But there's still like choices and story and game elements and stuff like that. This just sounds like it's literally just like, hey, everything we have in this game doesn't fucking matter.
No, because it can't. Because there's 6 episodes. Because it's stuck in this universe that already exists. That's happening at a time that you've already seen the events unfold. So, like, if you've watched the TV, if you've never read the books and just watched the TV show, because this is based on the TV show, you already know all the major events that are happening in parallel to this, anyways. So, like I said, you can't kill this character. You already know this character. You can't kill him. You know that this guy's not going to give you his army. Or this guy's not going to go here and do this, or this guy's going to go to prison. Like, all that stuff you already know. And so when it gives you choices, they know, because one, they're not interested in actually doing splitting storylines. And 2, it's just too hard. It's too hard for them. They don't know what to do. They don't. But okay, there's finally White Walkers in this game, so it took forever. It took episode 5. That one character that I told you I was forced to kill a while ago in a quick time event that I didn't mean to kill, she now came back as a White Walker, and that's why they forced me to kill her before, just so she can come back as a White Walker.
Twist.
But that was, I mean, it was kind of fun to see the zombies, but then I just realized this is the way that scene played out, because you were in the snow, there was the zombies, was exactly like the last chapter of Walking Dead Season 2, the Telltale version. It was like, like the old Disney animation thing where they used the same animation and had different characters.
Yep.
Save money. I feel like that's kind of what they did. They're like, oh, everyone likes Walking Dead. Let's just take their action sequences because now we have zombies, so we can knock the guy's knee out or have him crawl and growl and stuff like that. We'll just do all the same things as they did. Also, the chapters got shorter and shorter to the point where I don't know if my achievements were glitched, but it was like go somewhere, not even have a choice. It was just a cutscene, then achievement would pop. Go to the next cutscene, achievement would pop. Like I got 3 achievements in the span of 30 seconds, and I never pressed a button. Then at the very end, there was a final decision that you had to make, and this was the only decision that's mattered in this entire series so far. So there are 2 of your playable characters. They are stuck in a situation where you must decide one of them to sacrifice themselves. Mm-hmm. Personally think that I could think of at least 2 or 3 ways of them to get out of the situation without sacrificing one of themselves.
No,
which they didn't even try.
No,
which really bothered me.
Die.
Really bothered me because at least
this isn't the escapist.
At least I know.
Right?
At least attempt those things and have them fail, so I can be like, okay, well, at least you tried something. Not the second something goes wrong, be like, you go. I'll protect you. Since the entire series so far has been leading up to these characters meeting, so I will say that was a decision that I had to think about for a second. They had pros and cons on both sides. I wish we could talk about spoilers so I can sort of justify what I did.
You can.
But I know. But I am happy with the decision I made. I think that in the short run it's going to suck, but in the long run it made sense. And I sacrificed the character that I liked better. But I felt like for the kingdom, for the family, I made the right choice in the long run. So, first time a decision actually mattered, and it was a good one. But that's because it was right before the final episode. So, if they wanted to make 2 different final episodes, they could, and it wouldn't be that hard for them. So, that's why they finally had a decision that mattered, and it was right at the end.
Do you think, and I'm sure we talked about this before, but do you think just setting it in the Game of Thrones universe just crippled them in terms of everything they could do?
I don't think it inherently crippled them. I think either deals they made with HBO or George R.R. Martin or whatever his name is, I feel like they just didn't approach it the right way. Because I feel like, hey, would you rather play a Game of Thrones game or a Borderlands game? I'd be like, oh, well, Game of Thrones. That obviously has a richer story and all this other stuff, and you can make up whatever you want, and it would make sense in that universe.
Yeah.
But no, and so I feel like like I've said it before, but if the Tales from the Borderlands guys made this, I'm sure they would have made it better.
Okay.
I know. I think there's a lot of pitfalls that they did not avoid.
Yeah.
But I feel like they could have made a good game somewhere. It certainly is a rich enough universe, and there's certainly ways they could have done it which would have been fulfilling. And this, I mean, even saying all those negative things about it, I had the most fun playing this episode. This was definitely the best episode of the Game of Thrones so far. 4 was okay. This, I said, would be good. This was good. Okay. Overall, it was good. And it mainly stemmed on that last decision, I think, too, which was the last thing I did, and it really, I had an emotional impact. Just like the same thing with,
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange. Obviously, after that final decision you made at the end of Chapter 2 was that stuck with you, and you're like, oh, you need to go back and play this. Maybe if I went back and played the first half, I would have hated it again. But just that last decision, like I said, they threw some new gameplay at me. I'm going to go back and talk about those first few choices at the beginning real quick. I actually think that in this case, it made sense that I didn't really have choices because the character I was going up against had all the power, and it was like me, the character I was playing as, had all the power up until this point until this guy showed up, and it's like now he had all the power. So it would have been an interesting struggle in a dynamic to be like, oh, you thought you had all the power, you thought you ruled the kingdom, now you don't. Your choices don't actually matter right now. But because the entire series was full of these non-choices, it just felt like laziness to me. So that's just something else I wanted to add. Yeah, I mean, if I haven't sold you on this game yet, I don't know what's going on. I mean,
because like you have been given like 10 out of 10. So you're like, you gotta play this game.
If it was possible to start this at episode 4 and just, I would say, play 4, 5, and 6, I would do it. But you can't do it. Like, there's no like, you don't care about the characters, you don't know what's going on, you don't care.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it then. But the second half's better.
So far.
Couldn't get worse.
Episode 6
I guess episode 6 hasn't happened yet.
It could just be a 2-hour fucking cutscene where you don't push a button.
But unless they tie in Game of Thrones Season 2 into some sort of bundle that I'm forced to buy it, I'm definitely not gonna get Season 2.
You know, you don't even have to buy the bundle.
No, the only reason I got it this time was because I got the Tales from the Borderland bundle that was like the huge sale.
It came with it.
And because I needed some games for the TA contest I wanted to have.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got for now.
Okay, that's fine.
And then I was going to talk about Batman for a little bit. Just a little bit.
Knock yourself out.
So I finished it.
Second time?
Yeah, I mean, because technically my first impressions, I was like 70% of the way through the game or whatever. But I finished it. I think I'm satisfied with the conclusion. Some of the twists or turns or whatever might not have been the greatest. That's for comic book nerds to fight over.
I know who the Arkham Knight is.
Well, okay.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
I mean, I know who it is.
I'm just saying, like, I know who it is.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that some people are like, I don't know if that was good or not.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool. But I will say, like, because of the whole Scarecrow being the main bad guy in this and using the scare toxin and all that other stuff, like, they used a lot of really good, like, gameplay mechanics that horror games really haven't used yet. And they sort of do, but they did it really well. For a game that's all about, like, open space, free world, like Batman stuff, for them to use like horror elements, I thought were great. Like, they were really good at, they knew exactly where you were looking, so they could change the level around you as you turned your head. So you would like turn and look somewhere, then you'd turn back and it would be different, or you'd turn around, there'd be somebody behind you, and then you'd look back to where you were and you're in a different place. Just things like that. Or sometimes even randomly, like if you'd be gliding around the city and you could like grapple up on a building and then like shoot up, somebody would like pop out at you at that building. So it's like they didn't know you were going to use that specific building or anything, but they found ways to add those horror elements in organically where it felt good and fun. Also, there's some cool like nightmare sequences because of the scare toxin, and those are always fun. Those were kind of an Arkham Knight, but they were kind of platformy, and they're more like first-person horror stuff, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, the voice casting's great, which I sort of talked about before because it's all the people that come from the other games and came from the animated series. But Scarecrow was played by John Noble, who is, I don't know if you ever watched Fringe, but he played...
I've seen an episode here and there.
Yeah, he played like the mad scientist, like, you know
the
Walter.
Old man?
Yeah, he's the old man. And he was good, and... Jonathan Banks, who was in Breaking Bad, he was, what's his name?
Have the robot intern just say it.
Don't worry, he's got it.
Mike. He played Mike in Breaking Bad. He played Commissioner Gordon, and that was good because Commissioner Gordon had a bigger role in this game. So all that stuff's great. Also, they recently they interviewed Kevin Conroy, who does Batman, and they asked him if he would be part of a Justice League game, because I guess that's the new rumor for Rocksteady. And he said absolutely, he thinks that would be great, that would be fun. He says it's really hard to do a video game. He's done voices for a bunch of things, but like he really believes in Rocksteady, and like he doesn't mind doing like 2-3 years of voice acting for them because he thinks they could do it right. That's pretty cool. I don't like people were trying to say like, oh, that means he's doing a voice for the new Justice League game. It's like, no, that's just
would he?
Somebody asked him if he would do it, and he said yes, of course. But then after I played all the game twice, I played the Harley Quinn DLC, or the pre-order DLC. It's just a chapter, and it takes place before the events of this game, and you're supposed to go to Bloodhaven, which is 2 towns over, next to North Havenbrook,
Yeah, in Crystal Lake.
It's the realm where Nightwing is like the Batman of Bloodhaven, and you have to rescue Poison Ivy, who's in the prison or whatever. So it basically has all the elements of the Batman gameplay, but instead of detective vision, she has like
Harley Quinn vision.
Yeah, but it's like psychotic. She sees things weird. There's like all these weird like things etched on the wall and all these like laughing things, and like she sees things like messed up, but at the same time it'll like highlight, oh, like, hey, you can break this wall or something. Also, her gadgets are kind of fun. She has a little like Jack in the Box that when it comes out it explodes. Just other things like that. She has a lot of cool gymnastic moves she can do. She's got this thing, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically like she rages out. You fill up this meter, and when you do, then like every hit you do is an automatic knockout. So you kind of go around stealth, kill people, or do set up traps, and then till you get to that, and then you just kind of brawl everyone at once, which is fun. There's also the Red Hood, who's one of like GameStop's DLC or whatever, and when you play through as him, it's really cool because he has dual pistols, and you're constantly just murdering people in his
you're shooting
thing,
shooting friendly beanbags
yeah,
at their feet where they slip and fall and they just have a dream.
Pretty short. I think it only took like 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, I've heard the one big negative is that all the DLCs that have been released so far have just kind of been short and a little, uninspired.
I heard the Batgirl DLC, which was the first like official DLC. This other two things that have come out were just pre-order stuff. Is a little bit bigger. The company that did the prequel, Batman Origins, did it, so it wasn't even Rocksteady.
Yeah,
but I guess Rocksteady's ones are going to be more and bigger.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's still shorter. I still think they said it's like an hour. But that's the problem with having a linear story. Even though it's kind of sandboxy, like, hey, you can take down these guards in whatever order you want. If it's still trying to tell a distinct story, you play it once and then it's kind of hard to want to play it again. But yeah, I mean, it was just fun to play as Harley Quinn, even though it was just kind of like a Harley Quinn skin on sort of Batman. It felt unique enough, like with it, like she had like laughing gas, she had like some other fun gadgets. Like they tried to make it fun. Like I had fun playing as her. Like the voice acting was fun while you're going around, and it's fun to beat up or kill people. Like she kills people, the Red Hood kills people in his DLC, so that was kind of fun. At the end, not to spoil it, but at the end when you're trying to rescue Poison Ivy, then Nightwing shows up and you have to fight Nightwing and a bunch of bad guys at the same time. So that was kind of fun. But yeah,
seeing it from the other side,
I still give it a thumbs up. I would still say definitely get this game. You, Phil, and you, the audience.
I mean, Phil was already planning on it.
Yeah, in like 2016. No,
that's
too
a little
close.
soon.
Yeah. 2027.
2027, I could see myself going to the nearest Funko land because they're going to be
they're going to come back, right? Technology's cyclical.
Yeah, and then thinking about trading in some of my old games.
Right. I mean, that or Radio Shack. I'm sure they'll have it.
Yeah, and then I'll, get it.
Yeah. That's about it. But I did not buy the season pass. I did not get the Batgirl DLC. So there. You told me that I was gonna, so I didn't.
You just didn't, just to spite me?
No, just because I'm gonna wait.
See if it goes on sale?
Yeah, see if it goes on sale. See what actually comes out in the season pass, because right now it's unknown. The Batgirl thing was the only thing. Yeah, it's a lot of skins, but
car skin.
Yeah, gotta have that car skin.
Yeah, that's good.
Another annoying thing, just a personal thing, was I was playing. All the challenges was the last achievement that I had to get 3 stars in all the challenges, and I sat down and just did 3/4 of them. The last 3/4 of them. For some reason, it wasn't saving it. And I went to like the achievements. It's like, sorry, achievements aren't working right now. Come back later. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. So I had to restart my Xbox, and I went back and it had not saved any of my progress.
So you do all of them again?
It said that I had the max amount of stars, but on the leaderboard for everything, it did not have any of my stuff saved. So I went through and I played like another one again, and it still was my new stuff was still not showing up in the leaderboards. So I'm like, uh-oh, it's glitched. So then I went and just played another game, and like an hour later, while I was playing a different game, the achievement popped. So
that's good.
Phew.
Yeah. Otherwise, you would have had to
delete it and start over. I had to delete the game save, and the problem with that is each one of the challenges now in this game have to be unlocked with certain criteria that you do during the actual game. So I would have had to play the entire game again.
Third time through.
Yep.
You would have flew through it.
Man, the true ending. Oh, another thing I didn't talk about, I guess, because it had been a while. So once you complete the game, the main story, there's actually another ending after that. You have access to the entire Gotham, and it was like, hey, if you want to finish up some of these loose ends, you should probably do that. So you still have the rest of the Halloween night.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
To do that. And then if you do that, then there's yet another more final ending, which is pretty cool.
Batman shoots himself in the foot.
He does shoot himself in the foot.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
And then everyone laughs, and it's a freeze frame, and the credits roll over their laughing faces.
Yeah, they're all smiling.
Yep.
Yeah. This is all in Joker's dream the whole time.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Setting it up for the next one.
All right. Well, while we're here, I guess we'll just do a outro to the news episode, I guess. Okay. What I want to do is, if we actually had guests on this show, I would have them say, like, hey, follow them at not whatever, and then I would just cut that in, and the outro would always just be the same.
Sure.
We wouldn't have to do it every time.
That's fine.
But before that happens,
yeah,
you can follow us at Not Fun Podcast on the tweeters.
We have a email, this isn't fun anymore, podcast at gmail.com. Those are the two best ways to get hold of us.
Yep. Also, we got YouTube. Every episode goes up on YouTube, and Phil's adding Mega Man videos every day now.
Not just Mega Man.
Yeah, I think Phil promised at least one video a day for a year, right? That's what you did?
Yeah, I think it's something like that. Except for my calendar year is way different than yours.
Yeah, your perception of time is way different than ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Greg, the intern robot, we've
don't drag me into this.
We've decided that our calendar years are going to be different. Ours only has about 7 days.
Yep.
So you'll get a video a day for 7 days, not consecutively.
Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I guess now that the robot intern is here in the room, I guess he can do a sign off for us.
Phil's face looks like a fucked a dirty and shit on a Mexican.
That hurt my feelings.
Well, it should.
That was very racist.
Yep. Well, satire holds up a mirror to society.
Classic Greg.